Today we're going to talk about volume of spheres. This formula is on your formula chart, and it's a little bit different than any of the formulas we've used so far because it does have a numerator as well as a denominator. So let's discuss what that formula is in the different pieces. So the formula itself is V equals 4/3 pi r cubed. And we know that r cubed, another way to write that is V equals 4/3 pi r, because remember this exponent says we need to multiply r by itself 3 times. So we're going to talk today about some different examples on volume of spheres, and we're going to talk about writing in terms of pi. We're also going to talk about writing with 3.14 as pi. So let me attempt to draw a sphere for you. So here we can see that shows us that it is in fact a sphere, and this sphere has a radius of 3 meters, and we know this is a radius because it only goes part way. Sometimes they will give you a diameter, and I'll talk about that. And the first thing we're going to write, we're going to find the volume in terms of pi. Now remember, when we are finding volume or any other unit of measure in terms of pi, then we simply need to leave the pi symbol. We don't have to do anything with it. We're just going to use our 4/3 and our radius. So again, always write down your formula, 4/3 pi. Now the radius is 3, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to write, well, let me write the formula first. Write my cubed, and then I'm going to plug in. And I'm actually going to draw this fraction bar so I can see what's going on. Pi, and then I have 3 times 3 times 3. Now, there's a couple of ways you can do this. Of course, you can use your calculator. But if you realize that you're multiplying by 3 and dividing by 3, when we were in 6th grade, we talked about cross-reducing. So this actually would become a 1. So really, we're just doing 4 times 3 times 3. 3 times 3 is 9. 9 times 4, this would be 36 pi. Now, if you don't believe me, you can always go to your calculator and you can go ahead. My calculator is slightly different, but that's okay. We can say 4 times 3 times 3 times 3 divided by 3, still 36. We're good to go. 36 pi, and this is meters cubed. That would be our volume. Now, if we did not want to do this in terms of pi, then we would simply go ahead, same thing, but instead of pi, we would say 3.14 times 3 times 3 times 3. Again, that would simplify. We already know this is 36, so in our calculator, we could just say 36 times 3.14, 113 and 400 meters cubed. So depending on what format they're asking you for your answer, then you can go ahead and either in terms of pi or otherwise. So let's look at another one. This time I want you to notice that I am going to give you a diameter, and the diameter is 30. We're still using meters. So you need to keep in mind that, again, the radius is 15. So, again, formula, 4/3 pi r cubed. And we can write this in terms of pi and solve it as well. So we're going to say 15 times 15 times 15. Now, again, this is the first year that 7th grade has gotten to use calculators, so cross-reducing is not quite as important. You can do it, but since you have your calculator, it's not the end of the world. So we can say 4 times 15 times 15 times 15 divided by 3. And I know my calculator is slightly different than yours, but you can still type exactly this into your 84, and it will give you the same answer. So we have 4,500 pi meters cubed. Don't forget your pi symbol. If we wanted this not in terms of pi, right? If we just wanted an exact answer, 3.14, 15, 15, 15. So very much like what we've been doing, you're just plugging your numbers in. So times 2.14, 14,130 meters cubed. Okay, and that is spheres. I'm going to give you 2-word problems because sometimes they don't give you a picture, and then you'll be done with your notes. So this first one is going to say, find the volume of a sphere with a radius of 14 meters. Write your answer in terms of pi. Okay, so notice they're giving us the radius here. Now, if you want to try this one yourself as a you do, then go ahead and pause me, work it yourself, and then unpause to check your work. So here is my formula, V equals 4/3 pi r cubed. So when I plug this in, I have 4/3, and it's in terms of pi, so I'm leaving this as pi. 14, 14, 14. This one doesn't reduce very nice and pretty. So we can go to our calculator here. 4 times 14, 14, 14 divided by 3 is very, very ugly. So on your calculator, it's going to make a nice decimal for you. So let me re-put mine in. I have to do something a little different. There we go. 3,658 2/3 pi meters squared, because remember 0.6 repeating, which they've rounded to 7, is 2/3. So hopefully you did okay on that one. I have one more word problem for you. Try to make sure you read carefully on this one. Find the volume of a hemisphere. Remember, a hemisphere is half a sphere, right? Our globe is broken into hemispheres with a diameter of 28 meters. Write your answer both ways. So in terms of pi and as a number. So again, if you want to try this one yourself, go ahead and pause me and then come back and check your work. So V equals, so this one's a little bit trickier. We have 4/3 pi r cubed, but it's a hemisphere, so I got to divide that whole thing by 2. So when I plug this in, 4/3, I'm going to write it in terms of pi first. Pi, now this is a diameter, so that means my radius is 14. Which is actually the same question we just had a minute ago. But then don't forget you have to divide the whole thing by 2. So we're going to go to our calculator here. All right, so 4, and I already did it up here, but that's okay. We're going to do it anyway because we need, actually, we've got it right here. 4 times 14, 14, 14 divided by 3. And if you still have it in your calculator, you can just hit divide 2. 1829, and 0.3 repeating is 1/3 pi meters cubed. That is in terms of pi. And then if we wanted to do it as a regular number, then we would do this number times 3.14. 5,714 and 1100. So you can put the bar if you want. Now, I will remind you what we learned a while back when we did circles in 6th grade. 14 is a multiple of 7. So technically, we could use 22 over 7 for pi. So look at what happens when we do this. I'm going to say, here is my number. Actually, let's just do this. Let's start over. Let's go back to 4 times 14 times 14 times 14 times, instead of pi, I'm going to use 22 over 7. So I've got times 22 over 7. Look at how nice that number is. Very, very much nicer than before. Now, we still have to divide by 3. We still have to divide that by 2. So we get a little bit off on our answer because we had a much more exact answer before. Okay? Just a reminder about 22 over 7. If you got this, that's perfectly fine. You will have some spheres practice on this. So if you have any questions on these notes, please